Before the first meeting convenes and the barrage of emails arrives, there exists a fleeting window of undisturbed clarity that elite performers guard fiercely. In those quiet moments, when the mind is still unburdened by to-dos and notifications, a subtle practice unfolds, a gentle prioritization exercise that sifts through mental clutter and elevates the day's most consequential intentions. This silent habit is not announced with trumpets or celebrated in headlines, yet it lays the foundation for every breakthrough decision that follows. As the world around you accelerates, the capacity to engage each task with unclouded focus becomes a rare and precious gift. Top achievers understand that cognitive resources are finite and fiercely valuable, and by decluttering their mental landscape the instant they awaken, they reclaim reserves of attention that would otherwise be squandered on inconsequential details. From this vantage of calm precision, the mind becomes a razor's edge, capable of cutting through complexity and zeroing in on the few actions that will drive exponential impact. Imagine joining their ranks, stepping into each morning with a practiced ritual of recognition, identifying the three most vital projects, acknowledging potential obstacles, and mentally scripting the first move toward resolution. In doing so, you shift from reactive busyness to deliberate stewardship of your day, ensuring that your highest priorities dictate your energy rather than the loudest demands clamoring for a response. This introduction to the unseen habits of elite achievers invites you to claim that same advantage, unlocking a level of performance that feels effortless yet yields extraordinary results. The silent habit, daily cognitive decluttering. Long before emails demand your attention and meetings fill your calendar, elite performers engage in a micro-practice that clears the fog of mental noise, a deliberate prioritization ritual. As sunlight filters in, they pause to list the three most critical objectives for the day, projects whose progress will yield the greatest impact. This act of decluttering, performed almost unconsciously, frees up mental bandwidth that would otherwise be consumed by trivial concerns, enabling their minds to function with razor-sharp clarity. In that moment of quiet selection, the brain shifts from reactive scanning of distractions to a focused orientation toward purpose. The simple declaration of "this matters most" sends a biochemical signal that heightens dopamine in pathways associated with goal-directed behavior, priming the mind for sustained engagement. With peripheral tasks relegated to a secondary list, the cognitive load lightens and decision fatigue becomes a distant threat rather than a looming burden. Elite achievers practice this habit without fanfare, yet its effects compound with each repetition. By inaugurating the day with clear intent, they establish a mental filter that intercepts the chatter of lesser demands, preserving their mental resources for high-stakes choices. The discipline of morning cognitive decluttering transforms potential overwhelm into a structured agenda, propelling them from the stillness of dawn directly into peak decision-making. Over time, this silent habit becomes as instinctive as breathing. The mind learns to scan for noise and immediately discard it in favor of what truly matters, ensuring that even as the pace of work accelerates, their focus remains unwavering. In embracing this subtle yet powerful ritual, you too can command your mental capacity and set the trajectory for a day defined by purposeful achievement. Neuroadaptive breaks, hacking your brain's recovery mode. Amid the unrelenting march of tasks and decisions, the brain's capacity for sustained focus ebbs like the tide. Yet elite performers have discovered a surprising shortcut to rapid restoration: strategic sensory shifts that activate the brain's recovery mode. By interspersing periods of concentrated work with brief, intentional breaks, leveraging changes in environment, sound, or movement, they trigger neurochemical resets that dissolve accumulated cognitive fatigue. A quick walk outside to absorb natural light, the contrasting tone of an unfamiliar melody, or the tactile sensation of a cold object against the skin can interrupt the buildup of stress hormones and restore the balance between the prefrontal cortex and limbic system in a matter of minutes. These neuroadaptive breaks operate on the principle that novel stimuli demand immediate neural attention, forcing the brain to disengage from the task at hand and shift resources toward processing new information. In that moment of neural pivot, recovery pathways, governed by the default mode and parasympathetic systems, come online, replenishing mental energy and enhancing subsequent cognitive performance. Rather than viewing breaks as indulgences or distractions, top achievers treat them as precision tools, calibrating their duration and type to match the intensity of prior work, so that each pause delivers a targeted restorative effect. The key lies in timing and variety. Too frequent or uniform, and breaks lose their potency. Too sparse, and fatigue accumulates beyond the point of simple recovery. Elite performers hone their intuition for when a break is needed, often guided by subtle signs, diminishing accuracy, creeping motor stiffness, or a growing inability to stay present. With these cues, they seamlessly integrate neuroadaptive breaks into their workflows, ensuring that moments of rest amplify rather than interrupt productivity. Over time, the brain learns to anticipate these restorative shifts, optimizing its internal rhythms for sustained focus without burnout. That be why adopting this little-known technique, you recalibrate the balance between effort and renewal, transforming each break into an accelerator for performance rather than a concession to fatigue. In mastering neuroadaptive breaks, you unlock a hidden reservoir of mental stamina, enabling you to navigate the most demanding days with the calm precision of an elite achiever. The accountability mirror, self-coaching at day's ENDAS twilight. Hues settle over the day's endeavors. Elite achievers engage in a deceptively simple, yet profoundly transformative ritual. They stand before a mirror and hold themselves to account. In that reflective gaze, they become both coach and pupil, observing the day's successes and shortcomings with unflinching honesty. This self-coaching practice transcends mere self-critique. It forges a space where personal responsibility and actionable insight converge, turning fleeting observations into concrete commitments for improvement. The mirror becomes a silent confidant, reflecting not just the lines of fatigue on the face, but the imprint of choices made and opportunities seized or missed. By voicing observations aloud, performers crystallize lessons into language, harnessing the brain's affinity for spoken affirmation to reinforce new neural patterns. They might acknowledge where focus faltered, celebrate a decisive victory, and outline the first adjustment for tomorrow's challenges, each declaration sharpening the mind's trajectory for the next 24 hours. This ritual carries a dual power. It dissolves the weight of unspoken regrets that can haunt the night and instills a sense of accountability more potent than any external audit. As achievers confront their own reflections, they transform passive hindsight into active foresight, integrating the full spectrum of their experience into a cohesive narrative of growth. Over time, the mirrored self-coaching morphs into an instinctive habit, an automatic checkpoint that ensures every day ends with clarity of purpose and a renewed commitment to excellence. In adopting the accountability mirror, you claim the authority of your own progress, refusing to outsource responsibility for your development. This practice distills the essence of self-leadership into a few focused moments, harnessing the power of honest reflection to propel you toward ever higher performance. Biorhythm alignment, timing tasks with your ultradian cycles. Hidden beneath the surface of every productive day lies the hidden rhythm of our biology, cycles of peak and trough in energy and focus that pulse every 90 to 120 minutes. Elite achievers attune themselves to these ultradian rhythms, scheduling creative and strategic work during surges of mental acuity and reserving tactical or administrative tasks for the natural lulls that follow. By aligning demanding cognitive efforts with brainwave peaks, typically mid-morning and late afternoon, they harness the full power of their prefrontal cortex, ensuring breakthrough insights flow when neural receptivity is highest during inevitable energy troughs. Rather than forcing top-tier thinking, they pivot to lower-stakes activities that respect the brain's need for restoration, such as responding to routine messages, organizing physical spaces, or brief instructional reviews. This strategic sequencing prevents the frustration and diminished returns that arise from battling biology, transforming natural dips into opportunities for progress on tasks suited to momentary capacity. Over time, this alignment deepens self-awareness. The mind learns to anticipate peaks and valleys, cueing preparation for intense focus periods and granting permission to step back when efficiency wanes to be why weaving ultradian-informed scheduling into their daily planning. Top performers eliminate the guesswork of pushing through and instead entrust each task to the biological moment best suited for its demands. This harmony between work and innate rhythms not only optimizes cognitive output, but also mitigates stress, as the pressure to deliver extraordinary results becomes synchronized with the brain's natural cadence. In mastering biorhythm alignment, you unlock a sustainable flow state, ensuring that every hour of your day is calibrated for maximum impact. Mid-afternoon often ushers in a subtle shift in mood, a creeping fatigue, simmering impatience, or the whisper of frustration that can derail even the most disciplined momentum. Elite achievers insert a brief emotional calibration checkpoint at this juncture, pausing to ask 3 incisive questions. What predominant feeling am I experiencing right now? What is the underlying message this emotion is conveying? How can I adjust my mindset or environment to realign with my highest performance? By articulating the emotional current, whether it be a tightness signaling stress or a dullness indicating disengagement, performers transform nebulous sensations into concrete data. The second question uncovers the root cause. Perhaps a looming deadline is sparking anxiety, or a monotonous task is dulling enthusiasm. Finally, they choose a targeted adjustment, switching to a more energizing activity, taking a brief restorative pause, or reframing the task's purpose to steer emotions back toward equilibrium. This checkpoint, lasting no more than a few minutes, acts as an emotional GPS, offering real-time feedback and actionable direction. Instead of plowing ahead under hidden tension, achievers course-correct before negative feelings compound, safeguarding both their focus and well-being. Over time, this habit of deliberate emotional tuning cultivates a heightened sensitivity to internal states and builds the resilience to sustain peak performance through the day's inevitable ebbs and flows. In the isolation of individual ambition, consistency can falter under the weight of solitary resolve. Elite achievers circumvent this by weaving a micro-commitment network, a rotating circle of peers with whom they exchange tiny promises that must be fulfilled within 24 hours. One morning, a commitment might be to send a concise progress update to a trusted colleague. By evening, another peer becomes the recipient of a brief demonstration of your day's key learning. This dynamic social contract transforms accountability from a static, heavy obligation into a living, supportive ecosystem that magnifies consistency through mutual investment. Each micro-commitment leverages the human need for social reciprocity and the discomfort of letting another down, ensuring that even the smallest actions carry weight beyond personal willpower. The network's rotating structure prevents fatigue or dependency on a single partner, distributing responsibility across multiple relationships and fostering an environment of collective momentum. As each member experiences the satisfaction of following through and the reaffirmation of community trust, the shared energy compounds, creating a synergy that elevates individual performance. Over time, the micro-commitment network becomes a habitual source of gentle urgency and positive peer pressure, seamlessly integrated into the rhythm of daily work. What once required exceptional self-discipline is now woven into the fabric of collaborative practice, as the promise of a micro-action tomorrow fuels today's intention. In mastering this social hack, you harness the power of communal commitment to turn isolated efforts into a synchronized march toward high performance. The zero-decision launch. Imagine waking to a morning where every choice, from the moment your feet touch the floor to the first sip of coffee, is preordained, freeing your mind from the drag of trivial decisions and reserving your willpower for critical challenges. Elite achievers craft a zero-decision launch by planning their morning routines down to the smallest detail: the exact time to rise, the sequence of hydration and movement, the specific outfit laid out, and the priority task queued before they open their inbox. This pre-planning eliminates the mental friction of choice, ensuring that momentum flows uninterrupted from the instant they wake. By scripting each micro-action in advance, these high performers tap into an inherent human inclination toward pattern and habit, converting potential decision fatigue into an automated sequence that conserves cognitive energy. The mind, released from the burden of daily negotiations, should I have coffee now or later, work out before or after breakfast, transitions smoothly into peak performance mode. As a result, the first hours of the day become a fertile stretch of focused activity rather than a battleground of small, draining choices. Over time, the zero-decision launch evolves into an unshakable foundation for the day's work. The brain comes to anticipate the ritual's structure, triggering a cascade of neurochemical responses, elevated dopamine and cortisol regulation that prime attention and drive. In this way, what once required extraordinary discipline transforms into an effortless ritual, allowing you to step directly into high-stakes challenges with a reservoir of preserved willpower and an unclouded mind. When Elena assumed her role as chief operating officer at a rapidly scaling startup, the demands of her position threatened to overwhelm her every waking hour. She tried every conventional productivity tool, time blocking, to-do lists, and digital trackers, yet found herself spiraling beneath the weight of ceaseless responsibilities. It was only when she discovered the suite of hidden habits embraced by elite achievers that her trajectory shifted from reactive overload to unbreakable flow. Elena began each morning with the silent act of cognitive decluttering, jotting down the top 3 objectives on a minimalist index card. This ritual instantly sharpened her decision-making, providing a clear beacon amidst the chaos of urgent emails. Midday, she implemented neuroadaptive breaks, stepping outside for sunlight and a few deep breaths, restoring her focus in mere minutes and eliminating the burnout she had once accepted as inevitable. At day's end, Elena stood before her mirror for a brief self-coaching session, acknowledging where she excelled and pinpointing one micro-adjustment to improve tomorrow. This practice transformed her relationship with feedback, turning each critique into fuel for growth rather than a source of frustration. Furthermore, she synchronized her tasks with ultradian peaks, reserving strategic planning for her morning peak and administrative follow-ups for her afternoon trough, thus optimizing every phase of her energy cycle by weaving in the emotional calibration checkpoint. Elena learned to catch and recalibrate creeping stress before it took hold, ensuring that mood swings never sabotaged her performance. She also formed a micro-commitment network with fellow executives, exchanging daily small promises that elevated her accountability beyond individual resolve. Finally, her zero-decision launch, complete with pre-laid clothes, a precise hydration schedule, and the first email drafted the night before, liberated her to dive into high-stakes meetings with unburdened willpower. Within 8 weeks, Elena's transformation was unmistakable. She reported a 40% increase in her team's project throughput, a marked reduction in personal stress metrics, and a renewed sense of agency over her time. What once felt like an unscalable mountain of tasks became an orchestrated symphony of micro-habits, each reinforcing the next. Her story reveals how the subtle, often overlooked rituals of elite performers can be adopted by anyone to transcend overwhelm and achieve unbreakable high performance, one deliberate habit at a time. Across these 40 minutes, you have been introduced to the hidden rituals of elite achievers, habits that operate beneath the radar yet deliver transformative results. From the morning clarity of cognitive decluttering to neuroadaptive breaks that reset the mind, from self-coaching in the accountability mirror to aligning tasks with your ultradian peaks, each practice weaves into a cohesive framework for sustained excellence. You explored emotional calibration checkpoints, leveraged social bonds through micro-commitment networks, and preserved your willpower with a zero-decision launch, all culminating in Elena's remarkable journey from overwhelm to unbreakable performance. What unites these strategies is their subtlety and precision. None demand sweeping overhauls or grand gestures. Yet collectively, they forge an ecosystem of productivity and resilience that feels both natural and unstoppable. By adopting these little-known habits, you harness the neuroscience of focus, the dynamics of emotional intelligence, and the power of social accountability to elevate your daily output far beyond conventional routines. Now, the path forward requires only one step: Select the habit that resonates most with your current challenges, be it cognitive decluttering at dawn, a midday emotional scan, or your own zero-decision launch, and practice it consistently for the next 3 weeks. Observe how its compounding effects reshape your performance, then layer on the next habit until all 8 become woven into the fabric of your days. In doing so, you join the ranks of elite achievers who understand that greatness resides not in rare bursts of effort, but in the unwavering application of subtle, high-impact rituals. Your journey to elite performance begins now, one habit at a time.